Hello, it is Foundation Friday, April 2nd, 2021, April 2nd. Happy birthday to my mom. She would have been 88 years old today. Passed away 6 years and 3 days ago. We love you, Mom. Today, we start a new multi-part series on another fantastic classic book. This one written by Professor David J. Schwartz, Dr. David J. Schwartz, PhD, professor of marketing at Georgia State University when he wrote this book in 1959. Talk about a classic, still helping people live better lives decades and decades and decades later today. So let's get right to it. We start with the preface, where Professor Schwartz explains to us why he wrote the book. Said he had an encounter with a sales manager at a company who was explaining there was one sales rep who was no different than any other, wasn't smarter, wasn't healthier, didn't work harder, didn't have a better territory, none of that stuff. And yet he made 5 times the income of the rest. And so the difference between this guy and the rest of you, said the sales manager, predating Glenn Ross. He did not say, you see this watch? But he did say, the difference is that Harry thought 5 times bigger. And so, as Schwartz says then, the executive proceeded to show that success is determined not so much by the size of one's brain as it is by the size of one's thinking. And that was an intriguing thought that stayed with me. So Dr. Schwartz went on a path of discovering, was this true? And as he dug deeper, as he says, into what's really behind success, the clearer was the answer. Case history after case history proved that the size of bank accounts, the size of happiness accounts, and the size of one's general satisfaction account is dependent on the size of one's thinking. There is magic in thinking big. And so we are going to explore this book over the next coming Foundation Fridays. Stick with me, or of course, get yourself a copy. This is not my original copy because I see it's not all dog-eared and underlined and highlighted from reading it over and over and over. I passed that on to others. I think I've passed on several copies to clients and associates. It was passed on to me by a business partner who partnered with me to start in a new endeavor after I had bankrupted my first multi-million-dollar business. I was not thinking big. I was not thinking positive. I was a completely negative person, had a terrible attitude, really just didn't get anything. Had been brought up and taught all kinds of not the right things, which is something that Schwartz gets to right here in the preface and says, if thinking big accomplishes so much, why doesn't everyone think that way? Here, I believe, is the answer. All of us, more than we recognize, are products of the thinking that's around us. And much of the thinking around us is little, not big. And that described me before I met this business partner associate and his partners, and they gave me this book and encouraged me to read it. By sticking around them, my whole life transformed. Much of this thinking, little not big, all around you is an environment that is trying to tug you, trying to pull you down second-class street. You are told almost daily that there are too many chiefs and not enough Indians. In other words, opportunities to lead no longer exist, that there's too many chiefs, so be content to be a little guy. That's what 90% of, at least people here in the U.S., non-business owners believe, that they've been convinced that to get a good job and go to school and do what people say and follow the rules and hope the government gives you another handout and passes another law and makes another regulation and somebody else is in charge of making sure everything in your life is okay, and you just kind of go along and don't be a leader now, just follow along and be a good citizen. We're all in this together and all that kind of BS. But this too many chiefs idea simply doesn't square with the truth. Leading people in all occupations will tell you, as they've told me, says Schwartz, that the trouble is there are too many Indians and not nearly enough chiefs. Of course, still true today, over 6 decades later. This petty environment says other things too. It tells you whatever will be, that your destiny is outside your control, that fate is in complete control. Total BS. That's my addition, not Schwartz. So forget those dreams, forget that finer home, forget that better life, be resigned, lie down, and wait to die. And who hasn't heard the statement that success isn't worth the price? As if there's a price, but in truth, success doesn't demand a price. Every step forward pays a dividend. Successful people know that. And this environment also tells us there's too much competition for the top spots in life. But is there? A personnel selection executive told me that he receives 50 to 250 times as many applicants for entry-level jobs as for those that pay 5 or 10 times as much. This is to say that there's at least 50 times as much competition for jobs on second-class street as for jobs on first-class avenue. First-class Avenue, USA is a short, uncrowded street. There are countless vacancies waiting there for people like you who dare to think big. The basic principles and concepts supporting the magic of thinking big come from the highest pedigree sources, the finest and biggest thinking minds yet to live on planet Earth. The prophet David, as one thinketh in his heart, so is he. Emerson said, great men are those who see that thoughts rule the world. Milton, in Paradise Lost, wrote, the mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven or hell of a hell of heaven. Amazingly perspective minds like Shakespeare, who observed there's nothing either good or bad except that thinking makes it so, on and on and on. But where does the proof come from? How do we know that the master thinkers were right? These are fair questions. The proof comes from the lives of the select people around us who, through winning, success, achievement, and happiness, prove that thinking big does work magic. The simple steps in this book are not untested theories. They're not one man's guesses. They're not opinions. They are proven approaches to life situations, and they are universally applicable steps that work, and they work like magic. So stick with me through this multi-part series on the great book, The Magic of Thinking Big, and we will share these strategies from Dr. Marketing Professor David J. Schwartz. The fact that you're reading this page or you're sticking with me in these videos proves you're interested in larger success. You want to fulfill your desires. You want to enjoy a fine standard of living. You want this life to deliver to you all the good things you deserve. Being interested in success is a wonderful quality, but you have another admirable quality. You understand that not only do you need to look for success, you need a tool or the right tools to help you get success. And this book proves you have the intelligence to select a tool to help you realize your desire to have a better life. So you have both of those things, the desire and now the tool, and I'm going to share it with you. So think big and you'll live big. You'll live big in happiness. You'll live big in accomplishment, big in income, big in friends, big in respect. But enough for the promise. Start now, right now, to discover how to make your thinking make magic for you. Start out with this thought of the great philosopher Disraeli: life is too short to be little. And that does it for our first in our multi-part series on the fantastic classic book, The Magic of Thinking Big, Professor Dr. David J. Schwartz. That'll do it for Foundation Friday for today. Enjoy your holiday weekend, and I'll catch you back here tomorrow on Social Media Saturday. Over and out. Bye-bye.